getting through the summer, we have to get an update on Kevin Woodley's summer on ice performance as we get you into InGoal Radio, the podcast presented by The Hockey Shop, source for sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com. Darren Millard, along with David Hutchison and the aforementioned Woody. How is it going out there, pal?
Still a sieve, bud.
Are you touching a few?
Yeah, usually not on purpose, but the odd one hits me. Positioning stops pucks. That's my mantra.
If you touch it and it flips in, that shouldn't count.
It's only half a goal.
Half a goal, right?
Yeah.
Good point.
Got to give him a little credit, or at least help the save percentage a bit. The almost percentage.
Woody, when are we going to get a GoPro out there and just give us a sample of the Woody-like performance?
We have some ice rented this Tuesday. Woody's coming over with a vehicle jammed full of gear, and we will be on the ice. He doesn't necessarily have to be the only goalie out there, but he might choose to dress up. We might get some real footage of him.
What are you guys doing on the ice?
I was going to do a little bit of review work with a bunch of different gear that's sitting in the InGoal office. So we thought we would spend some time together and get the shots while we can. Over the years, we've tried, you run out there with the camera for the 5 minutes before Woody's beer league game and try and grab a little bit of video or something. And now we've taken a couple hours to purposely shoot some stuff that we know we want to get for some of the reviews that are coming up and to really be able to tease out what's going on with some of this new gear. I don't know if we want to mention exactly what some of it is, Woody, or we're going to leave that for people to find out.
Followed our social medias, you know.
Follow our social, you'll figure it out.
Some exciting new partnerships, Darren.
There's the tease.
And maybe see a little bit of Woodman in action. You down for this?
He's kind of hoping not.
No, I'm kind of like not really down for this. I'll let you notice that we're hopping in a car and I'm going to the island to do this. Ice is literally 1/3 the price over there per hour that it is over here.
What's an hour of ice time in the Lower Mainland?
$350 an hour in the summer.
So $250 US.
I thought it'd be higher. But I'm so glad that it's affordable on the island.
Honestly, considering we have to rent a bunch of ice over here a couple of weeks from now, and when I asked what was available, there was multiple sheets for multiple days available. I'm a little surprised that it's that expensive. Like, isn't there there's some type
supply and demand, right?
Yeah, there's more ice than there is people on it in a lot of these rinks, and yet $350 an hour. I guess there's a certain cost. I wonder what the cost is to not have it used.
Does it go up in the winter, or does it come down?
That is a very good question. I think it probably stays the same.
Oh yeah, I would have thought so. You mentioned summer, so I wasn't sure whether there was
It's definitely cheaper over here in the summer. They have different seasons, different rates.
Makes sense.
I guess it's probably
real economic supplies on Vancouver Island, just not in the Lower Mainland.
Our economist, David Hutchison, joining us live on InGoal Radio, the podcast.
I may have studied a little economics in university and hated every minute of it.
We'll get into the show here in just a second, but just to promote and touch on our feature interview brought to you by Sensorino. It's a fabulous interview this week. What a wonderful conversation, Woody.
Yeah, we got Harrison Meneghin on the podcast, so heads up, and we get into it a little bit. It's a friend of the family. I've known Harrison since he was in kindergarten. Won the Western Hockey League Championship, WHL playoff MVP, draft pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Went through some difficult times that we get into a little bit. Lost his dad right at the last game of the regular season, suddenly, tragically, and was able to come back with some help from his team and the support mechanisms around him, his family, who my family knows very well. Get back into the playoffs and lead a run all the way to the final of the Memorial Cup. So we talk a little bit about that, about the adversity he's faced, but mostly we just talk about goaltending. Talk about some of the guys that have impacted his life, his experiences, going to development camp with the Tampa Bay Lightning, going to main camp with the Tampa Bay Lightning. What's it like to look around and see Andrei Vasilevsky out on the ice and be a part of the same organization? Getting past not being drafted, passed over in his first year of the Bantam draft before having success in the WHL, passed over in his first year of the NHL draft before getting picked second time around and signing with the Lightning after the playoff run. So there's a lot going on in this young man's life. He's very open, insightful, honest, talks about everything he's been through personally, but also gives a ton of great advice for young goaltenders on, what the journey can look like for different people. And when it doesn't look the way you maybe planned it out in your head in advance, how to bounce back from that, how to move forward and make sure that you're still a part of the equation. You're not sort of settling once you've been passed over.
Looking forward to that conversation in just a little bit on InGoal Radio, the podcast presented by the Hockey Shop, source for sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com. Let's just revisit a discussion that we had organically a week ago. Which pad is in front when you're in your stance if there's an overlap? And you guys, I give you credit, after we were done recording, went down a rabbit hole on this. So we're talking about you're in your stance and maybe the feet are a little farther apart, but there's always one pad that seems to overlap forward. And I was wondering, put it to you guys, am I normal or is it a little bit different? And because my right pad is front. What did you discover, Hutch?
I did a very, very unscientific analysis of a ton of photos that I have on my computer from going to goalie camps, and I worked out roughly 2/3 of goaltenders, maybe a little bit more, were right pad in front of left. I personally would be left in front of right, so I'm calling that goofy padded, in line with the goofy footed snowboarders out there.
Hey, don't discount it does. Skateboarders and surfers, easy. Snowboarders. Pfft.
You count too. Yeah, the only one I've actually tried. Well, no, I've tried surfing, just not very successfully. I think that's about it, Darren, but it definitely seemed to be quite consistent because I saw multiple photos of the same kid and it was always in that one particular configuration. Might be genetic. 100% of the father-son combinations I looked at were both left in front of right. So I think we can take that one to the bank.
Woody, did you discover what you were? Because you were kind of...
No, but I discovered that I totally misinterpreted the conversation last week and was talking about how my pads crossed when I was in the butterfly as opposed to standing up.
It just means your pads are too big.
Oh, 100%. Not cheating, not trying.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I didn't. Because I haven't actually been on the ice since we talked last week.
Can't wait till somebody's on a breakaway and you're going to be thinking, "Oh, I'm left pad front."
Yeah. So like tying knots, left over right and under or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Left over right and the puck goes under.
Well, there we are.
I remember the first time I noticed that happening, though, years and years ago, after taking a break from playing. And of course, the old Brown Coopers that are behind me on the shelf here, they did not cross.
No,
because they barely came above the tops of my knees.
And I was curious because I had these new pads, the Access 2 and AF. No, I get that mixed up all the time, right?
Yeah, you're just AF. Like everything else you do in life is AF. These are actually XF.
Yeah, XF. I always get that mixed up. And I've
tried to get them to rename them. I just didn't work.
And I remember when it first came out, that being such a great line, going AF. We all kind of know, and that would have been a great take on it. So I'm going to stick to that with the XF and with them. I'm like, I couldn't remember on my other ones what it was normal. This one just seemed to jump out at me. So thank you. Appreciate it. Solving that mystery. Let's get into our gear segment presented by the Hockey Shop, source for Sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com, dealing with some of the younger groups.
Yeah, and it's perfect timing because if your young goaltender has hit that age where they need their own equipment, or if you're just in an association where maybe they don't have it, as they move out of the youth line and into the junior sizes, we've got a great new option from CCM. It's called the Phenom. We're going to get into that this week, but a reminder that over at the Hockey Shop and thehockeyshop.com, they've got every line, all types of youth options and junior. So if you're in that youth range, and we can clarify that because it's a little confusing, but the little guys, they've got multiple options for you at the Hockey Shop. If you're moving into that junior, start to get into that 24, 26, 28, 30 in that range, inch pads to the knees, something that looks a little more like a scaled down version of adult pads, they've got those at the Hockey Shop. But best of all, at the Hockey Shop Source for Sports, or if you reach out to them by email at thehockeyshop.com, they have experts that play the position, understand goaltending, and have fit young goaltenders for years. They have the experience, the knowledge of the position, the passion for the position to make sure that your young goalie gets something that's going to be right for him. I've been in the store with Cam. I've watched him have conversations with parents about, hey, I understand you want room to grow, but if you go any bigger, he's not going to be able to skate and he's not going to have fun. Cam is all over those dynamics, as is everyone else in his staff. So if you've got a young goalie, we suggest you check out the CCM Phenom line that we're about to unveil here in our latest gear segment. But there are other options at the Hockey Shop Source for Sports. Make sure you reach out to them to find out which one, which size, which price point is the best for your young goalie.
Let's get into it on the gear segment presented by the Hockey Shop. Source for Sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com.
I'm a phenomenon. What soundtrack is that from? Eminem?
Yeah, you're just going to regale us with your movie knowledge there.
Southpaw? Jake Gyllenhaal, boxing movie. Great track. Entire track. Little gets a little dicey there for the parents. Maybe don't listen to it with your kids on some of those songs, but
Squirrel.
we are phenomenon.
That's better.
We got CCM phenomenon. We're back at the Hockey Shop Source for Sports with tons of great. There is a reason they called this the Phenom line. There is some phenomenal features for the new CCM youth line. Cam here at the Hockey Shop Source for Sports, Goalie Utopia, is going to explain them all to us. Where do we start?
I know that was such a phenomenal intro. I don't know where to go from here.
Dad jokes galore, Cam. I already beat you to it. Let's go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, CCM's new, what we'll call junior lineup, kind of replacing all-encompassing junior along their basically that lower end price point, for example, that entry-level gear that's going to get us out there. That said, they've really updated and made a heck of a lot better by commingling both lines together.
Okay, so rather than saying what ages it's for, when you say junior gear, let's go into sizing. Like, what are we talking here?
24 through to 30.
Okay, so roughly what age? And I just said I wouldn't do ages. What type of age is this for usually? I guess it depends. Hey, listen, we know some adult goalies that could fit in this.
Yes,
but
exactly.
I digress.
Yes. So, I mean, we're going to be talking about, your U9s, U10s, all the way through maybe even U12. It depends, again, how big, the size of your goalie, how far they are in their development stage.
The odd 50-plus goalie who's shrinking.
The size of your legs, things like that. That's all going to kind of come into effect. So, specifically, let's talk about the pads first.
Okay.
Because we got them both fitting in our head. So, completely new design. Can't say redesign because it's a new design.
All new.
All new. However, featuring some hallmarks that we've seen from the CCM lines kind of, throughout some of this new development and whatnot. So, starting off, no speed skin.
No speed skin.
All Gen Pro construction.
No CGT, it's Gen Pro.
That's correct. We still get their version of their integrated knee, so you're getting that stability.
And a really solid looking knee stack as well.
That's a big call out here. So one of the things that's been lacking at a little bit of that junior price point has been that extra stability in the knee.
So you can be in the butterfly nice and stable.
And not having those pads completely roll out on you as well, as we're trying to build those fundamentals. So great addition by CCM, great call out, great feature, moving its way down.
Okay. On the knee stack, we saw a change in terms of the materials. Correct. At the eFlex 7 line. Here we've got the Hexa Plus. Is it Hexa?
Hexa
Plus.
Hexa Plus.
Hexa Plus. That nice soft material we found in the gloves and the blockers of the eFlex 7 are available.
We're going to see it again here in a little bit.
So nice soft sort of landing area, nice and cushiony, but very stable.
Yes.
Okay. Into the leg channel.
Into the leg channel. So although similar, they call their upper calf strap the Adapti Fit. The adaption point is that it's extremely adjustable. So you can really get that proper wraparound. So in years past, we've had a little bit of kind of trying to figure out what length CCM was going for. It was either too long or too short.
Right.
Now you have the ability to adjust it yourself. So dial in your fit, find it perfect. Great additional feature to help lock in that leg in terms of for that fit of the pad, but not affect pad rotation.
Just like the high-end pads, just like the pro pads, the adult pads, the knee stack can be slid down to the calf, or you can wrap it around to the removable knee flap on the outside.
And as we've seen in the E-Flex 7, that air knit style leg channel all the way kind of throughout. So nice, breathable, lightweight would be probably the big key here too as well.
And soft and segmented. So if you do go for a tighter fit, you're going to be able to sort of establish that connected feeling in the bottom of the pad.
Correct. So close it all off with a Velcro craft strap. Moving on to the boot.
We have a boot strap.
We have a boot strap.
Why, folks, would we have a boot strap in the lower and make it optional as opposed to included? And hey, you can remove it quite easily.
Exactly. It's just held in by a pocket on both sides.
The boot strap is really good at sort of pulling a pad down if you're looking to maybe, you got growing kids. They'll grow so fast they might not even get a season in the right size. If you want it a little bit tall and you need to pull the pad down on their leg at the beginning, you can use the boot strap to accomplish that.
Caution, if you go too tight, you're going to affect rotation and the leg dropping out of the pad. So within reason.
Within reason.
Within reason.
I'm a reasonable man, Cam.
Reason for regular skate lace plus elastic.
We like that system, same as in the E-Flex 7 stock.
Yes. So you can still create your knots kind of in the front. You get that ease of adjustment in terms of being able to pop it in from Velcro. Or if you do want to switch it to disc skate lace, or for example, something else,
Easy peasy.
they just untie, pull them out, install your new toe tie.
Okay. Flex is nice and soft above the knee, down
Yes.
at the base.
But they have some rigidity still at the upper portion of the thigh. Like it's not going to be completely floppy, which I think is a good call out too as well, because that's something, again, that we can find in junior pads when they get too soft, for
A little
example.
bit of the extra wear material on the top corners of the thigh.
Correct. Just to help prevent some of that rubbing, which will naturally happen for sure.
Blocker.
It's a blocker based off of E-Flex 7, Axis, bit of a combo of both. For example, you still get that hexapalm that we've seen in those higher end pro versions, for example.
I was
and
looking
moving on
at
way
the
down.
label to make sure I was calling it the right thing.
Yes.
Hex
Yes.
is right.
Hex is right. There you go. It's good. Junior fit blocker. Nothing too fancy here to call out other than just proportional size in terms of for hand size as well. So again, made for those smaller hands for sure. But solid
like
overall feel.
Segmentation on the thumb. So again, smaller hands,
That
not as
level of
much
flexibility.
strength. Protection will move with their thumb.
So this is something that CCM's gotten right the past little bit here for sure, is definitely the blockers. Great overall fit. Good punch in terms of a rebound.
Glove feels like about a 590-ish break.
Ooh, he's got the Phenom glove. So yes, we have a 590 break for the glove. Nice, easy closure out of the box. Index finger stall, pinky finger stall. That center in between, in terms for those two fingers, is open. But most kids, when they would put their hand in the glove anyway, would combine those two fingers as a stall.
Cross
So-
form strap.
Exactly.
Still, same as the feature that we have on the pro level glove.
Giving great wrist mobility. The
Single
ability to punch it
T.
forward.
I like this. Is this you doing this?
No.
Source for Sports? This is stock.
Deep-
Little skate lace pocket.
Deep skate lace pocket. Nice, easy retention. So you are going to see some exclusive colors from us. White based with, depending on the accents. Stock colors will be solid base, darker.
So source exclusive will be the white base.
Yes.
Ooh, a lot of people like that. And the white glove.
Well, all white's just
All white.
Everybody gets all white.
Oh, okay. You're not special.
me. Oh, you know I'm special.
Because
Ladies and gentlemen, you
he's
can
a
figure
phenom.
out how special this gear is by giving me a call at 604-589-8299 or 1-800-567-7790. We're going to cap this phenomenal video off by saying thank you for watching.
I am phenomenal.
As far as the name of a line goes, like that's a brilliant marketing push for that age group, isn't it, Hutch?
I think we all like to think that our sons and daughters are phenoms. So
Yes.
absolutely. Very cool. Good looking set of gear. One of the things I like about it is they didn't just take, say, the E-Flex 7 and scale it down in size. They thought, what's best for a goaltender of that age, of that strength, physiologically, what's going to be, or biomechanically, what's going to be best for them. I think they've done really good work with this line. And I know if my son were still that size, I'd be out trying it for sure.
You know what? The other thing that we talk about, you're right, not just scaling down and shrinking the pro gear, but they figured out the glove at the E-Flex 7 level. Like the glove, we've talked about how much better the closure is, and this thing too. Like young goalies are going to be able to close this glove fairly easily, and that's such a key part of learning how to catch a puck. So, hat tip to CCM for doing a good job with the Phenom line, not just because it allows me to channel back my Eminem lyrics to Phenomenal, great tune. We name checked the movie it's from in the segment there, but I was digging that. I may or may not have added that to my workout playlist after that day.
Woody, I'm seriously concerned actually about posting this video on YouTube because you are so good. I think we might get a copyright strike.
Darren, before you listen to the segment.
No, I heard it. I heard it.
So you already knew. Do you know the movie?
8 Mile?
No, Southpaw.
Oh.
Jake Gyllenhaal, the boxing one, and Eminem did the soundtrack. It's a good one. It's a good soundtrack. It's a good workout soundtrack. Pump up music.
I was angry at you because I had the Muppet song in my head for a while.
As one does when they see Kevin.
Yes, that's what I had in my head.
The two old guys in the balcony, right?
Stadler and Waldorf. Yeah.
That
was rolling through my head. So there you go, everybody. You're gonna live with me and my journey as you enjoy that thing rattling around in your head. You know that glove at the youth age, the junior age, you're starting to get some players who can raise the puck a little bit, and it's gonna hurt your hand. So it's important to have some protection there. When you're really young, you're not catching pucks, but you get a little bit older, bordering knocking on your teens. That's going to happen a little bit, and some confidence. And that sort of leads us into the Stop It Goaltending You, the app parent segment. What's happening over at Stop It Goaltending, Woody?
Well, interestingly enough, we talk a lot about this over at InGoal magazine with our weekly pro reads. But they have 5 daily primers on the Stop It Goaltending app this week on reading the play. So a reminder, when you get the Stop It Goaltending app, every day during the week, Monday to Friday, you get a daily quick hit video. Something small, something easy, something digestible that you can quickly deposit in the brain and it'll help make you a better goaltender. And this week's are on reading the play. They also got a full goalie playbook video breakdown on Karl Vejmelka of the Utah Hockey Club. Well, I guess now they're the Utah Mammoths. And a drill of the week on quick backdoor transitions. So it's a great sample of a drill that you can take out onto the ice with your goalie coach. If it's something that fits what you're working on, there's a drill you can take and try out yourself. So these are the types of things you get every week at the Stop It Goaltending You, the app. And of course, as we say and remind you every week, not only do you get all their great content based on 25 years in the game, led by Brian DeCord, former NHL goalie coach, former NHL goalie scout, former NHL goalie director, but you also get a free subscription to InGoal magazine included with your sub to the Stop It Goaltending You app. Make sure you check it out on the Apple Store or wherever you download apps for Android.
Hutch.
Darren, this week, I had a thoughtful back and forth with a parent who was concerned about her young goalie flinching, as we say, during practices with teammates. Her son is under 10, but really this is very common at that age, so I thought it was something that we could address. I certainly remember being the flincher myself, especially at young ages. These are ages where goalies, as you alluded to earlier, Darren, aren't used to as many high shots, and they definitely aren't prepared for some of these kids who've figured out how to consistently shoot at the top of the net. And at that age, there's a wide range in development. You've got some kids that might be 50 pounds soaking wet, and you've got some that are years ahead in development and honestly can look like they can shoot like young men. So fear of the puck at that age, totally normal. You know, you're at this unfortunate intersection, I like to think of it as, is where you've got every player out there wanting to shoot at the top of the net, while your young goalie is of the perfect age that puts their head right at the crossbar or even a little bit lower. Apparently, this young man that we're talking about was showing no real fear when he was training with his goalie coach and showing some real ability as a goaltender. But most importantly, he just loves being a goalie. Yet when he's out there facing players, Mom described it to me as him throwing every part of his body towards the puck to try and make a save. And even while he's pulling his head in the complete opposite direction for safety. So I had a few thoughts that I wanted to share with her and with everybody else. And the first is that point I've already made. This is very common. Fear of the puck as a young goalie does not mean that you need to hang up the pads and go find a different sport. It's really hard to watch and your young goalie with that conflict, you know, of loving what they're doing, even while they're fearing what's happening out there in practice. But just know that you're not alone. Second, as much as we want to scream at the team and tell them to keep the puck down and stop shooting at his head, really, what are the players supposed to do? They have to learn how to shoot for the top of the net. You can't develop a team that's only allowed to shoot the puck low, and if your goalie's head happens to be at the exact height to be in danger, it's a tough situation. So, if you're Darren Millard facing NHL shooters, you probably feel safe. Those players can place it precisely in the corners, and as Woody said before, what doesn't hit you doesn't hurt. But at age 8, 9, or 10, whenever the players are getting stronger and raising that puck consistently, many of those players have no better an idea where the puck is going than your goalie does. And that is a recipe for fear. So that's, for a similar reason, I think that's why they feel safe with their goalie coach, simply because they can trust where that goalie coach is going to place the puck. And so they can feel like they're in a safe zone with their coach. So 6 tips here for what you can do as a parent if you're in this situation. Number 1, listen and be understanding. If you're frustrated, you can be sure that your goalie is just torn apart inside, and they need a chance to be able to share that with somebody without judgment. The second thing, please don't feed the fear by expressing anger about all the players shooting high. That is not going to change, and helping your goalie learn to be angry about it is just going to give them one more thing to be upset about. Number 3, find them some ways to enjoy the game away from practice and away from that fear. Now, that probably means, they need some sort of pressure relief that will separate their fear from their love of the sport, I believe. And that's probably providing some great sessions with that goalie coach that they feel comfortable with. It might be some fun at stick and puck where things are a little bit safer out there. I'd like to think, at least what I've seen in some public skates around here, you just need to be creative so your kid can have some fun playing the game and not be worried. Number 4, engage the goalie coach in a discussion. They probably see what's happening, but they might not know how much this is affecting your goalie and how much it's affecting their enjoyment of the game. And goalie coaches have a large bag of tricks for helping with that puck fear. Not going to get into those here. We might be able to, but this is more for the parents than the coaches. So just trust your goalie coach. They can help. Ask your goalie coach their opinion about your child's gear. Does it fit? Is it still of the right quality for this new level of play that they moved up to this season? It won't always be an easy solution like this, but I'll recount one quick story. Our young son was flinching on shots quite frequently after he'd been drilled in the head as a young goalie. And thankfully for us, he was big enough and strong enough at that age that he could manage it when we definitely overbought and got him a pro mask. The fear went away immediately. I actually read this segment to Matthew and asked him what he thought about the whole piece. And he said, I was thinking exactly the same thing. Don't go out there and spend $400 on a stick for your young goalie. Spend some money on a helmet. He said those kids can't shoot the puck, but they can sure get a concussion. So my point being, it might not be as simple, but it might be as simple as the fact that your kid's getting hurt on a regular basis on one place of their body because of some equipment, and maybe you can fix that. And then perhaps they need to chat with somebody else who's got experience helping them work through those fears. They're real. Nobody wants to see them go through this. And I believe that working with a sports psychologist at a young age is a great thing if you're able to make it happen. Won't go through a list of them. You've heard us talk about lots of people on the show. If any individuals would like some advice, please contact me, parents@ingoalmag.com, and I'll be happy to share. Puck fear, everybody. It is real. It will take time to get over it, but if your goalie loves the position, don't give up. There's lots of goalies in the NHL today who were diving for safety back when they could barely tie up their own skates.
I went through it when I was younger, like 13 to 15 age group. Thank you, Bob Lawrence and Braden Pilling, for instilling that and forcing me through that stage. 2 guys that came in and took clappers from 20 feet away.
I had a technique when I was younger that was easier to pull off back in the days when Kelly Rudy used to face shots from the top of the hash marks all the time. My strategy was just get out of the net as far as I possibly could, so I'd take it in the shins before it got high enough to catch me in the head. A little harder to do that in the game today.
And the kids at that age are really discovering the use of the slap shot. And that's when they're engaging in that area, and it's a perfect storm for what we're listening to here.
Yeah, and I don't think you can ask those kids not to do that. They want to be out there at practice having fun. They want to learn how to shoot the puck. You can ask the coach to make sure there aren't three of them shooting at the same time, like they do in Woody's beer league warmups. Control it to that extent, but the kids have to be allowed to play the game, I think. And for me, the big one is not getting your kid into that anger cycle. Like, we all joke about it semi-seriously about going after guys who shot at our heads in practice, but I don't think that's the train of thought we want to be giving our young kid when they're worried.
You talk about the National Hockey League guys. You never get hit with the pro guys. Like, they're so good that they can control it. It's more at the lower levels that you end up getting them buzzing around your ear or whacking off the top of your head. Unless you're Woody and you're diving over.
Unless you're that guy in the RVH and you got some skilled NHL forward
yes.
goal line banking it off your ear and in.
Even then, they're so good. It's just going in. I wouldn't mind it if it whacked off the bucket because the bucket is such a highly perfect performance part of my gear that I don't mind that every now and then. Woody, when was the last time you got hit in the head and rang hard? You're on a good run of that, I feel.
I feel like that's almost a pretty much game by game, daily, every time I skate basis, I take one. But that just means I'm centered in position on the puck. It's not my fault they can't shoot, Darren. No. And I may spend a little too much time on my knees. What can I say? Patience is not something I possess. Holding your edges is something we only talk about at InGoalMag.com, not something that I, as one of the writers of those stories, am able to exercise. Thank you very much.
Vizual Edge brings us pro reads every week. Vizual Edge, one of the great partners of InGoalMag.com.
Well, and this week's Vizual Edge features Cam Talbot. We've told you about guys right up to the NHL, 50 goalies in the professional leagues, American Hockey League and NHL, that have used Vizual Edge to help sharpen their visual skills as well as their cognitive tools. We've talked about Jordan Binnington using it every day on a game day basis to get ready to play, both warming up his eyes and his brain. Cam Talbot is one of those guys. He's talked to us in the past on the podcast in his pro reads about the fact that he uses Vizual Edge and that his use of Vizual Edge, he believes, has played a big role in his ability late in his career to sort of become an all-star, to take big steps in the National Hockey League long after he entered it. So this week's Pro Reads with Cam, it makes him the perfect sponsor because goalies like Cam in our weekly Pro Reads show you how they read and anticipate the game, and Vizual Edge, of course, is helping Cam see the game better. This week, he breaks down a scoring chance from the top of the circle off a low-high pass where his defenseman is rushing out to it. And the first part of the breakdown deals with what side of that defensive screen he positions himself on. So, Darren, I will ask you on the spot, buddy. This is my revenge for saying I got to get on the ice with a GoPro. Which side of that screen are you staying on, and what factors dictate that? Top of the circle, defenseman rushing out to him.
I usually lean towards the hand that the shooter's taking the shot from, and that's an old John Garrett tip, and I still subscribe to that and try and cheat there. Or I will look at which side that if I have to do it really, and sometimes I don't have time for this, but which side the defenseman, if it's my own guy is covering, I will lean over and take the other side and just improve my odds a little bit. And if they put it beside my defenseman, well, that's a good shot, and I feel like at least I put some thought into it.
I like it. Ding, 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 Darren.
Really?
Hit all the notes, not only in terms of, and in this case for Cam, it was short side, but the short side was dictated. His defenseman was flexing out kind of right in the middle lane, so he had to pick one of the two. And it's the handedness of the shooter, the fact it's a left shot that influenced his ability to go, or his decision to go to the short side or on the side of the hand of the shooter. Now, that's not where this pro reads end. There's a pass that comes. Cam talks about the decision, how he comes across, whether to slide or skate, and how he skates across. Shuffle, not T-push, which ends up resulting in a difficult, a high-quality chance in the slot, being made to look like a routine save. So we've got that video up at ingoalmag.com. We're not giving away all the secrets that Cam does. Got to be a subscriber to get it. Make sure you check it out. Cam spends about 3 minutes walking through the keys to this save, managing the screen, that decision on how to move across, and of course, a reminder, Vizual Edge, as a sponsor of the Pro Read segment, also gives InGoal readers a discount. Everybody gets a standard discount using the code InGoal. But if you're a member, go to ingoalmag.com, click at any recent Pro Reads, and you will see a discount code that doubles how much you get off of Vizual Edge. Can't give it away, obviously, on the air, but if you're a member, make sure you check it out. Save some money on Vizual Edge. Check out Pro Reads. Get better at reading the game, like Darren has, because he watches all our Pro Reads. That's why he nailed that. All at ingoalmag.com on a weekly basis. New every week. What are we up to, Hutch? Like almost 300 of these things? Got to be like 290 now?
290. I'd say about 290 is a good guess.
290 videos of NHL goalies watching footage and explaining their decision-making process. There is no better deal in the game to learn how to read the game than a subscription to InGoal magazine. Shameless plug by me, because it is that freaking good.
Can't believe I nailed that. That's awesome. It was, I was today years old before I discovered that teams have systems set up where the defenseman will take a certain side and the goalies will sort of cover off the other side, and you spread your coverage out, and the goalie isn't just standing in the middle peering around everybody. And I think that's an unbelievable edge. Even if you don't have the system there, the defenseman is usually one way or the other slightly, and you can lean in on that.
I always told guys I played with, because I didn't play on a team very often that had a good system, I would, especially beer league, I just told the defenseman, if you're going to be rushing out at a guy, shift yourself just a little bit towards his inside shoulder. Because I would much rather take that shot from an angle where I've got a better chance to deal with it. And I'd much rather take it than forcing him into the middle where there's more chance of a screen and rebound issues and so on. So just shy a little bit to try and get him. And that was also a point on giving me some vision, because of course, if your defenseman is playing goal, they'd better stop the puck because you're not going to see any of it.
And that kind of matches. Darren mentioned the systems. I would say every team has that baked into their system in terms of, hey, this is where a defenseman, this is the lane we want you in, flexing forward, whether it's on a PK or even at 5-on-5, we need you to flex out in this lane. And it's almost always the short side. Your players are trying to box out or flex out on a shot in the inside lane so that the goalie handles the short side. Because most pucks into the inside, there's more traffic. We've gone through it before, different things it can hit. Puck has the fastest path to the net on which side? The short side, so it makes sense for the goalie to make that a priority. And if you're on the same page as your defensemen and your forwards in terms of what lanes they're in, everybody's job gets easier as opposed to the helter-skelter crap that I deal with at Beer League.
I was just trying to make it really easy for the beer league folks out there. Go at his inside shoulder.
So you're playing, go at the inside shoulder. That's where you take the angle.
That's what I would tell the defenseman to do. Just shade to the side that's inside a little bit, please. Just keep it real simple.
Also keep in mind, in pro hockey, the defenseman's or defender's going to do everything they can to block that shot if it's in. In our leagues, Woody, they're doing everything they can to get out of the way. So you can't totally rely on it.
It's interesting you say that, though, because I saw an incredible breakdown by Steve Valiquette, and we love his work here. And he was going through the percentages of the chances of a defenseman scoring on a clear-sighted shot versus the risk to one of your skilled players coming out trying to block that shot. He's just like, and he did it right by numbers, of course, as Woody probably will now. But we can stop those shots.
Yeah, all you're doing is getting in the way and creating more chaos a lot of the time. Now, you can't let guys, that said,
Can't let him walk in.
You can't let him walk in, and also a forward flexing out to defenseman at the point, you're right. If there's nothing else between the goaltender and that shooter, but chances are at the National Hockey League level, there's also a screen and a defenseman on the inside in the slot area. Now, if you allow that defenseman to have a clear lane, clear sight, and pick either corner with a layered screen of a defender and another forward in front of you, that becomes a 40% scoring chance. So telling the guys on the outside not to block it, well, I understand, only works if there's not other layers of traffic that you have to deal with as a goaltender.
Now I'm a little more confused, but we've got Sensorina bringing us our feature interview this week at NHL Sensorina, and it's a wonderful conversation coming up. But first, a note from our friends.
Oh, Darren, I was just going to say that you caught on, you threw it to me, but you just threw it out there in the middle because you weren't sure where to go, didn't you? Yeah, not bad. I have been talking about Sensorina every week, and now, well, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Woody, even if I don't completely throw it to him. But I have a feeling Woody will jump in with his own 2 cents at some point. This week, we posted a fun little video on socials of Woody after a Sensorina training session. And yes, it was real. It was not staged.
And
Woody
it was a great video.
Yeah. Woody absolutely drenched in sweat.
I don't know about drenched, but yeah, I was
pretty much.
Yeah.
And look, Woody's giving, right? Instead of just sitting around moaning, he's like, how can I help InGoal? How can I help our readers? I'll just throw myself up there on video. Look, not taking a shot at Woody's fitness level. It's actually a perfect endorsement, though, of how real NHL Sensorina training really is, isn't it, Woody? And it was all part of him going deep this week into his review of part 2 of the new goalie advancement program, which is all about mastering your angles. And Woody writes, let's just say that he writes the way that he talks at length. We're talking about over 2,500 words and 12 videos just on this one part of the program. So if you would like to learn more about NHL Sensorina, learn more about the goalie advancement program, check it out now over at InGoal, Woody's review of part 2, and see how NHL Sensorina can be a massive part of your goalie summer development. And don't forget, use the code IGM50 to save even more.
Hey, listen, it's 2,500 words because that's how in-depth that program is. 6 levels, 3 training levels within each level, 6 to 8 drills within each training drill. Like, do the math, it adds up in a hurry. And of course, by the time I went through the whole thing one last time, I was a little gassed, I will admit. And by the time you get to the end, you're doing 5-on-3 drills with the defenders out there. So we just talked about screens and managing screens. So as much as this was all about square and being able to be on angle and learn how to be on angle and square, you had to work to find that puck as well. And yes, I was sucking a little wind by the end of those sessions, but it was great. I can't wait to take it on the ice. I also can't wait to dig into the third part, which is all entirely dedicated to managing traffic as we build off our first 2 lessons. The first one was on reading the releases. The second one we just did, talking about staying on angle. Now it's all about that traffic we were talking about, Darren. So I can't wait to dig into that this week, and we'll have that review coming in the next couple.
Now to our conversation. Just set the groundwork for us here.
Ooh, it's a bit of a tough one. Because we know Harrison. I do, because we know the family and we've seen what they've been through. And because of everything he's been through, everything they've been through, I didn't know where to start this one because it is a part of the conversation. And him and I talked about that after. It's been a part of a lot of the conversations and interview he's done. But his story is not just about overcoming the loss of his dad during these playoffs. His story is about a passion for the position, how it developed, how it was nurtured, the coaches involved, the experiences he went through in Bantam not getting drafted, moving up to the WHL, getting drafted at second time around by the Tampa Bay Lightning, going to development camps, first as an invite without being drafted at the Minnesota Wild camp, and then the 2 years afterwards with the Lightning, signing with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we get into all of it. It's a story of a young man who is on the path to professional hockey as a goaltender. First year will be this year, who had to overcome a pretty big bump in the road this season. So there's a little emotion here, but there's a lot of great insights about the game, about his game, and about how he's navigated that path, both the personal side in this playoff run, but also from a development perspective. It is loaded with great advice from a young man who, to be honest, caught me a little off guard with just how open and insightful he was about that path as we get into it on this week's feature interview. Really excited to welcome to the InGoal Radio podcast. First time guest, but I've known this young man for a long time. He was a lot shorter when I first met him. It was like kindergarten. Harrison Meneghin, WHL champion with the Medicine Hat Tigers, Tampa Bay Lightning draft pick, fresh off his second trip to development camp with the Lightning. There's so much I want to catch up with you about. But first off, so our audience knows, like, full disclosure, you went to school with my older daughter, so I've known you and your family since probably kindergarten, eh?
Yeah, it's been a while, but it's been good. You know, it's pretty cool that we're still in touch. So yeah.
Well, it's funny that our paths cross here. I remember how into hockey you were as a young man, and here we are now, National Hockey League draft pick, off development camps. Let's start with right now. What's a dev camp like? You've been through 3 now, 2 as a drafted goalie and 1 before with the Minnesota Wild off of your first draft year. For those goalies that don't know what it's like, share with me.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of different experiences that, you know, you might go through. My first dev camp was a lot of fun. You know, we did a lot of team bonding in Minnesota, but then there was also times where you kind of realize that the next level is a lot harder than the level you were just at. So you got to kind of sit back and kind of realize some things that you need to work on, whether it's on the ice or off the ice. And yeah, but you kind of need to take in also what you've accomplished and kind of be a little proud of yourself, but also know that there's a lot of work left.
After you get drafted and you go to your first development camp with Tampa Bay, you're right. You're like, it's a big moment, but then the next step is always a big step. What are some of the things we talk about? Give me an example of something that you were like, man, I didn't realize this was going to be this hard, or, hey, I need to change this at this level.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was the fitness. You know, there's a lot more staff that you work with and that you kind of have to, I guess, please. They got a lot, you know, higher bar for you. They expect to see improvement. So if you're not doing the right things, they pick up on that right away. And yeah, I think it's just growing as a person as well. Like, you can't be that same goofy kid you once were. And now you're becoming a professional. You're a business piece now, not so much just another goalie. You're more of a asset than maybe you were in Bantam or even junior hockey.
Okay, so it gets a little more serious, but do you still get to be Harry? Like,
Yeah,
do you have to make sure you don't lose yourself in that process, because that's probably a part of what allows you to succeed is there's a looseness. And I've had coaches talk about how you were able to sort of bounce back from stuff, and not that you don't take it too seriously, but that you don't end up sort of, I'm looking for the right word. You don't end up like, if you're struggling, you're able to sort of process it and not internalize it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of my stronger suits. I think that as I've, you know, grown in my hockey career, you kind of realize that you play way too many hockey games to sit back and just, you know, think about one or maybe even a few bad games in a row. It's important, especially in a playoff run, to kind of just move on to the next game. And I think for me, my personality is also, you know, one of those things that helps me a lot, whether it's being a good guy in the locker room and just, you know, brightening the mood up. I think that's one of the things I kind of take pride in, I guess. You know, it's the person I am. And I don't want to change that. And I think I'm learning that, you know, as you get older, you can kind of keep those same attributes, but also tweak a few things to kind of, I guess, mature yourself.
Okay, so balance a little bit, right? You don't want to lose who you are, because you're a bit, like you said, your ability to sort of like move on from things and water off a duck's back was how somebody, you know what I mean? Like, have a bad game, don't dwell on it. But it does get a little more serious. Is it a matter of getting comfortable too? Like, your first time into a development camp, your first time into a team, you have to find where that fits within a room. What's that process like?
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example would be when I got traded to Medicine Hat. You know, some people know who you are. One of my good buddies, Matthew Ward, was there, so he knew kind of what I was like. We grew up together. But when I first got traded there, I wasn't, you know, the same person I usually was. I was definitely, I'm not going to say putting on an act, but I wasn't being the same kind of social person I was. I was just focused on hockey and kind of learning what all my new teammates were like. And I think the more games you play and the more comfortable you get, you kind of, you learn a lot more about your teammates and you're able to become, you know, more of yourself. And I think that's kind of what brought me more success. I didn't start the season off too hot, but as I got more comfortable, I was able to kind of, be myself, and that helped me on the ice too, and definitely off the ice, building new relationships.
Okay, so what's that like? I mean, for a lot of young kids, the dream is to get to junior hockey or college hockey. You're established yourself in the WHL, and now you get traded. Walk us through that experience.
It's definitely a weird experience. I don't think I'll ever forget the day I was traded. It was definitely a weird one.
How'd you find out?
Well, it's kind of like a crazy story. We won on Friday night, so the team went out and just with the guys, and then get back a little bit later, and then you get traded the next morning at like 9:00.
Were you on the road or at home?
We were at home.
Oh, okay.
So we were pretty tired, and I kind of found out that I got traded at night. It got leaked through whatever. So I found out, and I wasn't really sure if it was true or not. So then I get called in the coach's office the next morning, and as soon as I got called in, I knew I was getting traded, and all my teammates knew when I was in there what was kind of happening. So came out, said my goodbyes, and I went and played that night. Game didn't go the way we wanted, but it was kind of a neat day just to kind of you're in one locker room in the morning, and now you're playing a game for a different team. That's arguably one of the biggest rivalries in junior hockey. The
Lethbridge to Medicine Hat. Yeah.
So, it was definitely a surreal moment, but I'm super grateful that it happened because a lot of great things came from that.
So I should probably know this, but like, did you travel or were they actually playing against each other?
I traveled, so I drove up to Medicine Hat, and then we played Moose Jaw that night.
Oh, okay.
And then we lost like 5-3 or something. Not my best game, but
well, you probably had a lot on your mind, and I'm guessing if you knew going to bed and didn't actually find out to the morning, that wasn't a great sleep.
Yeah, it was not a great sleep, not a lot of hours, but it was a great experience. Like, those guys in Medicine Hat were unbelievable. Like, they're going to be my family for the rest of my life. So yeah.
Okay, so that experience of getting traded, new team. Obviously, the headliner is Gavin McKenna, who's made headlines again as he goes to the NCAA. I want to ask you a little bit about what it's like facing that shot and how you approach that as a goaltender in practice, because I've seen that release, and maybe it's just the old man in me, but all these kids shoot way too hard and way too deceptively for me, but he might be at the peak of that list. But what about, like, I've known Willie Desjardins for a while because of his time with the Vancouver Canucks. What can a coach, what's that like in terms of the coach bringing you into a new environment? How much of a role does he even play, or is it mostly the goalie coach? What was that like, sort of first starting with a new team and getting comfortable?
Yeah, I think Willie did an unbelievable job. Like, he's a huge reason why we won that championship. Bringing me in, he obviously has a lot of experience, bringing in older players. He was ready right away. Like, he knew that we were making all these trades. We had a brand new team. The team from this year to the previous team, I think there was like maybe 4 or 5 returning guys. So it was brand new locker room. So he did a really good job. And you
were going in early. It was early in the season that you were.
Yeah, I went in October, but even then it was a really new group. So I remember getting there, and there was a lot of, I don't want to say friction, but no one really knew each other yet. So it was definitely interesting. Usually I feel like when you get traded, you're the odd man out. But in this sense, I feel like there was a lot of people just trying to get to meet each other. So Willie was really good. He a lot of team meetings, leadership group, stuff like that, just to kind of integrate everyone together. And he just kept it super loose, and he knew when to be serious. So that was super helpful. I mean, he did a great job. Like, when you have a bunch of guys that are, high draft picks or super talented, guys are going to go first overall probably. You'd expect a lot of egos, but he was able to bring those egos down because we weren't going to win if we just all only cared about ourselves. So he was able to kind of tame us all. And at the end of the day, like, we had a really great year. So yeah.
It's still a team sport, right? What's McKenna's shot like? I got to ask. Because I mean, there was one in the I think it was in the Memorial Cup where I don't know how many guys would have been able to shoot it where he shot it and how quickly he got it off his stick. I can't remember which game it was, but like, just seeing that release and having watched the Bedards and the Celebrinis of the world locally here at some of the summer skates, man, the amount of deception on releases these days. It was easier back in the old days where guys just put their head down and leaned into a slap shot. It was easier to know where that was going.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing now is just the deception. Like, he has a hard shot, but there's definitely guys with harder shots. He just knows where to place it. He'll shoot it when you don't expect it. Crazy angles to make you look kind of goofy. Like, I'm happy I didn't really have to play against him this year. I had his number before that. So if he is ever listening, he knows that. But yeah, I think he knows where to shoot the puck and knows when to. And he's also a great playmaker. So maybe as a goalie, you don't think he's going to shoot, and then he does. It's just you don't really know what to expect. And he just always finds a way to just be in the right position. So it's stuff like that just you don't know really what's going to happen when he has the puck.
Mindset when you're on a team like that, you mentioned it, like not just him, but a lot of great players on that team in Medicine Hat, towards practice. Like as a goalie, we know practice is sometimes not for us. It's sometimes not very friendly for the goaltenders. A lot of open looks from open spots that you might not see during a regular season. How do you approach that so that you are always working on your game, even in moments where maybe the drills weren't that friendly for a goaltender? How have you learned to handle that?
Yeah, I think sometimes in practice, you have your time for yourself and you have your time just to be a competitor. I think, well, at least in Medicine Hat before practice, we'd have goalie skates. Then I knew that's when I needed to be dialed in and just work on the stuff that would help my game. But then after that, it was just all about stopping the puck and finding a way. So in practice, if you got a 3-on-1 drill or like a drill where maybe the defense isn't trying as hard because it's just they're doing a lot of reps, it's all about just being competitive. If you get scored on, maybe that play's probably not going to happen in the game, but it's just you against your teammates and your friends. So you want to kind of, I guess, have a little battle with them, kind of make it fun. Don't worry too much about how many goals are getting scored on you. I think when you practice 100 times a year, you don't really nitpick all the little things like that unless you're doing your own goalie skates. I think it's just about having fun and kind of chirping your teammates and making sure that you're stopping more than they're scoring, but also just bringing that competitive nature out of yourself.
Do you think when it benefits for yourself too, but also teammates, like when a goalie, you've probably seen it, maybe even went through a period of your time yourself where was like when the drills get unrealistic, guys will shut down. Do you think teammates notice the difference when a guy is battling? Like, do you think being that guy that battles, as much as it helps you with the competitive side, do you think it can help maybe your teammates go to war for you once the puck drops for real because they know you're willing to battle through some of those drills where a lot of goalies might be like, to heck with this?
Exactly. I think that's actually really true. Like I talk with a lot of my teammates and, maybe there's a goalie there that's not trying and then they don't have that kind of built up respect that they would have for you or maybe a different goalie that is battling in net during practice, because players they're not going to be happy if you're in net and you're not trying because no one's getting better from that. And I think the higher up level you get, you kind of earn that respect from your teammates that you kind of owe it to each other to, want each other to improve. I mean, that's also a huge part of why we won. Like we were a team that really wanted each other to get better and want the best for each other. So that's super important that in practice, guys are pushing each other to get better. And we had lots of leaders on our team that would do that, whether it was on the ice or off the ice. So that's something I really learned this year. I don't think I've ever been a part of a group that's like that. So I think that's important, even for me, just getting ready for pro, that it almost felt like we were in a pro environment in junior hockey.
And again, the fact that you battle like that makes it easier to become a part of that team, like to really become a part of that team. It's a great lesson because I think even I've been guilty in the past of writing about how practice can be bad for goalies sometimes. And we know it's not always goalie friendly, but how you treat those moments matters. And in this case, like you said, not only are you getting something out of it, but it builds that bond within that team. It's an important lesson, I think, for a lot of young goalies.
Yeah, I think growing up for me, I was always like, oh, it's practice. I would just dread it. And then as I got older and you kind of realize how hard it is to be an elite goalie, you realize all the things you need to be consistent at, and you're not going to get consistency from, in practice. You don't necessarily need to go 100%, but you need to make sure you're thinking about what you're doing and also pushing yourself, because when the times get, uncomfortable, you need to be ready for that.
The more comfortable practice times, goalie coach times. Matt Wong was your goalie coach?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I had that right. That's what I was looking up on the computer there. I should have known that offhand. How much time did you get with him? I know it's different from team to team, how much support there is, whether it's full-time, part-time, in for a week, in for a couple of weeks. And what was that process like? Like, how has Harrison Meneghin's game evolved in the past year?
Yeah, I think when you're a 20-year-old goalie in junior hockey, your game is pretty much where your coach would want it to be. I think that what Wonger did a really good job with was making sure that every day I was focusing on the right things. I think something that I struggled with was I'd maybe focus on too many different things and I wasn't able to kind of clean up the important things. And that's what kind of hurt me at the beginning of the year. But as we got closer in our relationship, he was able to kind of figure me out really good. And he was able to kind of just sit me down and talk me through what we needed to do today, and also just like maybe what I needed to focus on off the ice as well. We had a really good off ice relationship as well. So yeah, he did a great job kind of just dialing me in. And yeah, he got me ready for playoffs all season. Like that's what we were preparing for. We knew we had a good team, so we got ready for the harder times rather than just regular season all year. We were preparing for the most uncomfortable positions we could be in.
Okay, so off ice, when you say that, are we talking like training physically or also sort of between the years, how you're managing moments and the ups and downs of a season?
Yeah, it was for sure between the years. Me and Wonger were not lifting weights together. So
okay.
Yeah, he was, it would almost, sometimes I was like, oh, it's too much for me when I first got there. And then as I got more into, the system and the organization, I was like, you know what, this is exactly what I needed. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, being uncomfortable and becoming comfortable in a situation like that. I remember my first game there, I was struggling and he came in and he called me into the office right away. Like, I guess it was the food room, but yeah, he sat me down and he just told me to relax. And I was never used to that. I never had a goalie coach come talk to me in the middle of a game before. So it was a little bit different for me and I was a little overwhelmed. But as time went on, I got used to it and it just became routine at that point, and it was easy to kind of just keep moving forward, maybe when a game's not going too great.
Was that something that continued? Like conversations between periods?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is he full time there? So is he around all the time?
Yeah, he's around all the time.
Which is nice. That's not always the case. That's a feather in the cap to Willie and his staff that they've got a full-time goalie coach.
Exactly. And that's kind of something that I knew right away not to take for granted. And that kind of just goes to the type of organization that Medicine Hat is. It's honestly, like, being there was unbelievable. Like I was not expecting it to be that good throughout the whole organization. I was like honored to play there. That's kind of what it felt like. So I was super happy with everything that was going on.
Okay, so what were some of the things that you guys talked about? Like getting you, like you talked about, like this might be too much at the beginning. What were some of the things that you and Matt worked through that helped you continue to get better as a goaltender? And I mean, if there's stuff you don't want to talk about, that's totally fine. But is there an example or a couple takeaways that you think might help another young goaltender out there?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's important to realize why you got scored on. I think sometimes there's some goalies that are like, why am I getting scored on? Like, why does this keep happening? And I think we would talk about each goal that happened and it'd be really quick.
No, that's not in between period.
That would sometimes if I like asked him, I was like what happened? Like, I don't no idea what happened on that second goal.
Because you don't have replays.
Yeah, I don't watch the game right away. Right. And he'd be like, you know what? It was so small this happened and you're never gonna do that again. Like, that's not what in your style. Like, that was a one-off. And we'd move forward and we'd just play the rest of the game like we were in practice. Like, just go do the things you practice all the time, all the habits you've kind of built up. And that's why practice is so important, because you can always fall back on what you work on and give yourself that confidence.
In terms of on the ice, you talked about too many things versus the important things. And certainly at InGoal, we always talk about tools in the toolbox. Like when we publish articles or whatever from all kinds of goalies and goalie coaches, the idea is to show people different things they can try, but not to be, hey, you should try this. That difference between the two. Were you trying too many different things, or were you trying to fix too many? Like when you say too many versus the important things, is that just trying new things, trying different things, and not recognizing what your foundation is?
Yeah, I think sometimes you try and be someone that you're not when you're in net. I think you...
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, like I think sometimes, maybe not like a certain goalie, but you're trying a new play style that doesn't fit you. Like whether it's trying to narrow your stance too much, but that's not how I would want to play. So it's stuff like that, or keeping your hands too far out front because you feel like you can't track the puck properly. So just little things like that. And then, Wonger would come back and be like, listen, like the reason why you're not doing it is because you're not getting square fast enough. You're not moving quick enough. Like stuff like that. Like, so you think it's now you're like, okay, maybe it's just, I'm not working to position fast enough. And that's why he was able to pass the puck before I got square and, I spread out or something like that. So it all falls back to smaller details and you can't really worry about 5 different little things like that.
If working about 5 different little things sounds like me on the first tee of any golf round, right? Like
Yeah, me too.
All these things swimming around, and then it looks like a folded lawn chair when I take that first hack. Did you come up with some staples? Like, were you able to? And we've had different guys at different levels, including well into their NHL careers, sort of almost come up with mantras. We've seen guys write it on their gear, or like, "Hey, this is my staple. This is my anchor. This is my focal point." Were you able over the course of the year to come up with things where, hey, this is my foundation?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say there was like 3 things, but I think we would just always say to each other, work to position, head first, and just track the puck. And if you can do those 3 things, everything else kind of falls into position. Some guys are like control rebounds. I don't know. Skate quick. I don't know. Something crazy.
Right. But
like
if you're
that.
in position, if you're in position, if you work to position fast, you're probably controlling a rebound.
Exactly.
Better.
So it's all those things. It's like a puzzle. Everything just kind of falls into place. The more pieces you have in, the easier it is to finish the puzzle. So yeah.
I like that. That's good. Where did the puzzle start for you? Let's give some love to some people that we both know around here. Angelo Maggio, I know you trained with him when you were younger, and Magic goaltending. Let's rewind here a little bit. Where'd you fall in love with goal? Who was your first guy? Like, who was the guy?
My first guy was Angelo Maggio. I started training there when I was, I think, 8 years old.
But who's your first? Who made you love the position? Who did you want to be?
Like a role model?
Yeah, or who'd you watch in the NHL? Was like, what made you want to be a goalie, Harrison?
I think the real reason why is because when I put on player skates, I couldn't skate that well. And then I was put in net.
That's honesty is good.
And no one could raise the puck, so I just felt super confident. And then obviously you start watching hockey. And when I started playing hockey, it was when the Canucks were on that 2011 run. And that was the first time I ever cried watching a hockey game. So that's kind of where I guess the love started for the sport when I felt really sad when the Canucks played brutal in Game 7. So
Luongo was your sort of first one?
Yeah, he was kind of my first guy, and I think you watch just goalies like Carey Price, and then Vasilevsky when you get a little older, and then now I kind of watch him play on the ice, so it's a surreal moment. But yeah, I think that's kind of where it started. I'm a huge Canucks fan, so that's definitely where the passion started. And I mean, it's a frustrating team to support, but yeah, I'm loyal.
I like it. Now, back to Angelo. You mentioned him. So you fall in love with the sport, with the position. You want to be a goalie. Some of your earliest influences, obviously, I remember talking to your parents about, hey, where should I go? And Angelo and Magic goaltending, man, like you look at a lot of the guys that came out of this area and made it. And a lot of them started there, right? Like Tristan Jarry, Laurent Brossoit, now yourself. Like, what do you remember about the coaching style that you think resonated so much?
Yeah, I think they always keep you super confident. And then when I was younger, Angelo would be super hard on me when he needed to be. He always kept me kind of loose, but also dialed in a sense. I think I learned a lot of lessons with him in terms of just maybe not goofing around as much as I would like to. But it was, I don't know, like we have such a close relationship, especially with his son, Greg. That's who I train with. That's who I train with now, and he's done an unbelievable job. So I think it's pretty cool, kind of the relationship that we've built over the years.
I was going to say too, the one thing I remembered, like a lot of compete drills for young goalies, a lot of skating. And I think that, I mean, to me, that's not a coincidence. You talked about Vasilevsky. I think when we see from the Russian goaltender, a lot of skating at a young age. I remember watching a lot of skating at Angelo's camps with other goalies.
Yeah, Angelo's, like the skating has been really good for me. I think when I was younger, I didn't realize how important it was. I think there was a few times where I shed a few tears, but now that I'm kind of happy, I think it's pretty funny now. I'm sure that maybe he'd have a good laugh hearing that, but yeah, I think the skating is it's more important than a lot of young goalies think. I think at least I've coached a few goalies too. I'm not the greatest coach, but I definitely see them not enjoying skating. They like to just go in net and stop pucks, but they don't realize that that's the whole foundation of the position. Every goalie, when you get older, can stop a puck that's shot when they're square. But it's how do you get square and how do you do it fast? And how do you keep up that conditioned kind of feeling that so you're not building all these bad habits? And when I look at a lot of young goalies nowadays, I see they can stop the shot, but they can't really skate that well. So that's kind of where they get, hiccups in their career, and maybe they don't make that junior team they want to because they can't skate as well.
So, and there you go. There's the skating, right? And we used to we mentioned Carey Price as one of the early sort of role models, guys that you looked up to, and he used to talk to us all the time about like crease movement. If you can't move, you can't play, right? You don't need pucks to work on it either. But it's not as fun as when there's a puck out there. So
yeah,
kids don't love it.
It's not the funnest, but as you get older, you do it a lot more than you did as a kid, and it's probably been the biggest difference in my game. I remember in Bantam, I wasn't the greatest skater and I wasn't the greatest goalie by any means. I didn't get drafted to the Western Hockey League, but I started working on my skating, and that's when I kind of saw my career, I guess, advance, you could say. Yeah.
Okay, so walk me through that, because again, young goalies, I mean, you've been through it now at two levels. You said didn't get drafted into the WHL, didn't get drafted your first time in the NHL, your second time through the draft, you do get picked by Tampa Bay. Now you're signed with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Do we get too caught up in the first opportunity? Like, what was that like for you? I know you played academy, so there's probably a ton of pressure. Your peers getting drafted. What was that like to go through, and how did you move past it?
Yeah, I mean, I can still remember the day that the Bantam draft was on. We were all sitting on the bikes in the gym, and no one was really pedaling. We were just sitting there watching, and I remember seeing all my buddies get drafted. We had a really good Bantam team. I think there was like 3 or 4 guys that didn't get drafted, and I was one of them. And I was just sitting there, and guys were getting listed after the draft by teams that, didn't want to use their draft pick, see who was available. And I was just like, I wasn't confused, but I just felt like defeated. And then looking back now, I'm like, well, that's stupid. You were 14 years old. But it's definitely tough hearing everyone talk about all the teams that they're going to. And then you kind of sit back and you're like, well, am I as good as I think I am? And then I remember thinking that, but I was like, I feel like there's so much more that I can do. And I'm kind of surprised I thought those things, but I'm happy I did, because it kind of kept me able to push forward. I always knew I was better than maybe what people thought I was. So that was good for me to think that. And yeah, I think just I got opportunity to play 16U. I was supposed to play in the 15 league, but I got pretty lucky. I'm not sure how that happened. And yeah, I had a really good season, and Yogi Sveikovsky was my coach, and he's got a lot of connections. So he was able to, I don't know what happened. Maybe some Lethbridge guy saw me and I played good that day. Then they listed me, and, I got my opportunity, and I just tried my best this season, and I guess I did. And yeah, I think it's just important to kind of realize that maybe the first time won't work, but if you believe in yourself, then, good things will happen.
You gave yourself, you're honest there about the emotions of that day and feeling disappointed by it. So can't ignore that. Give yourself that, and then find a way to push through. Like drive you a little harder after that initial disappointment. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I remember going.
Like, you can't pretend that you're not affected by it, right? But then just, you have a choice. You either let it defeat you or you dig in.
Yeah, like, you can't sit there and pretend like it doesn't hurt, because it obviously does. Like, it's a big day.
I would argue we make it a bigger day, especially in the academy environment. I've heard, I've heard the stories, not from yourself, but from other kids. Like, when you're in that environment, they're all watching the draft, and there's a ton of pressure that comes.
Yeah, there is. And I think, especially for younger goalies, I could name a handful of goalies that are drafted to the NHL and signed that didn't get drafted in the Bantam draft. Like, the Bantam draft means, I'll be brutally honest, it means nothing. Like, it actually does. Like, unless you're a first round draft pick as a player, like, there's nothing going to be given to any players, or it doesn't count you out. Like, there's so many goalies that are the best goalies in that league right now that are not drafted.
So fast forward now, you're in the dub. You've established yourself with Lethbridge, but you get passed over in the first draft. Did you have expectations your first time through the NHL draft, or were you? How did you go into that? How did you come out of it, mindset wise? I
thought I deserved to be drafted, but I also understood that there was not a lot of pedigree yet. I was thinking I had a good season. I proved I could play in that league, but teams want to see consistency. So I understood that maybe I wouldn't get picked, but at the same time, I felt a lot of pressure on myself to have a even better season next year. And so going to that next season, I knew I had an opportunity to be a starting goalie in the league. So I think it was just important to realize that I had to take care of myself for that season and just get ready to be, essentially promoted to a full-time starter. So that's kind of where my mindset was. And I did a good job of that. I had a good year. Didn't have the best playoffs, but yeah, proved myself I could be a starter. And I think that's when I really thought I could get drafted. Yeah.
So in between the 2 years, it sounds like you put pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
How'd you manage that? Right? Like how do you raise the bar and raise your expectations without falling victim to? Because expectations can be a tough thing.
Mm-hmm.
But do you goal set? Do you identify specific things you need to work on and just knock one off after the other? Like how did you, it's one thing to say, Harrison, to me, hey, I want to be better next year because I think I can get drafted if I take another step. How did you do that? Add that pressure to yourself without feeling that pressure, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, I think for me, that's where my loose, goofy kind of personality helps me out. I did put a lot of pressure on myself, but at the end of the day, I was like, you know what, it's just hockey, like go out there and play. But there is things that you do need to like work on and hold yourself accountable for. And, you take back some time and you just look at some things that you truly need to work on in your game, and you work on those things. And, you got to understand that it's not going to be quick. But
what were some of the things? Do you remember some of the specifics you were trying to drill down on?
I think it's just a lot of it's like just being harder in front of your own net when there's, bigger players in front of you. I think for me, it was just getting a little bit stronger. That's still something I need to work on. But I remember I was just super, super like fragile and weak, and I've gone a lot stronger and just.
So battling for your ice a little bit?
Battling for your ice. And I think a lot of it is just understanding how to be a consistent goalie. Like you got to understand that you can play 7 of your best games of your life, and then you could have 2 games right after those 7 games where you played really good that you just play awful, and you can't question your whole career after that. Like you got to just understand that goalie is a position where you do get scored on. Like that's the whole idea of the position, is to stop the pucks, but you, at the end of the day, like you're going to get scored on. You got to just understand that you just got to accept that fact, and you got to move on. And that's something that I never understood. I would beat myself up, too much about that. And
does that tie into like Matt Wong and like too many things? Like would you, if you had a couple of bad games, would you start trying to change things, like change for the sake of change?
Yeah, I think so. And that's what I was really worried about going to a team that is a contender. I was like, I got to find a way that I can kind of push myself in playoffs when maybe we go down in a series, or, I play a bad game, but we play the very next day and it's essentially the biggest game of the season. Like every game's the biggest game of the season in playoffs. So it was hard for me to kind of wrap my head around that. But once I did, I felt really good and really confident because I knew that if I played bad, I was going to feel the exact same as I did if I played good the night before going into the next game. So that's something that I think a lot of goalies need to understand. I feel like some goalies feel like they're playing guilty in a sense, like they're trying to redeem themselves for the last game, but that's just not how it works. Like it's just game by game.
You can't try harder in this position, can you?
Yeah, no, you can't.
It doesn't usually work. It's like golf.
Yeah, exactly.
So you rip off a .919 save percentage as a starter in Lethbridge in 23-24 and you get drafted. What do you remember about the draft?
Well, I remember being in Italy the week before and coming, like everyone else was still in Italy, and I came home by myself, and I was at home with my grandma, my mom's mom, and she doesn't really know a lot about hockey. So I remember seeing the draft by myself at home, not at the actual draft. And I keep watching just like these names go by, and we're by like the 5th round now. And I'm like, okay, this is probably where I should get drafted, 5th to 7th round. And they're just, I remember just seeing goalies' names that I didn't know necessarily. And
which is what we had, especially from overseas and stuff. There's a lot of that, a lot of like, time at the draft.
A lot of like Russian goalies that obviously are good, but I don't know who they are.
Right. So that's hard.
So it's hard to see that. So you really start questioning if you're going to get drafted. And, but I knew in the back of my mind that I did a lot of talking with Tampa, and I think they had like 3 7th-round picks. So I'm like, you know what? I'm fine if I go in the 7th round. I do not care what round I get drafted in. And I remember about to start walking downstairs because I was like, I'm not getting drafted. And as I was walking downstairs, as cliche as this sounds, I heard my name on the TV, like really like faint, because in the 7th round, they don't really announce the picks anymore. They kind of just say it and then they move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
But I heard Lethbridge, and then I heard my name, and I look and I saw my name just kind of like pop up on the TV, and I was like, I kind of just sat there for a bit, and my grandma was like, "Oh, look, it's your name," and I was like, actually, I don't even know if she was there. I think she was like watering plants or something, and I like started celebrating, and then I go ask my grandma, or I go tell my grandma like, "Yeah, I just got drafted to the NHL," and she's like, "So like, do you like have to travel and stuff?" And I'm like, well, yeah, like a little bit. And then I kind of just called, my whole family's watching in Italy. So I FaceTime them, but then my phone starts blowing up. Like all my friends and all my like other like family members that were in Italy were trying to get a hold of me. And then Tampa, all their staff start calling me. So it was pretty busy. But it was pretty cool seeing my notifications on my phone kind of just blow up. So that was nice.
Okay, and then first dev camp, and then do you go to training? You went to training camp too last year.
Yeah, like I went to, I think all drafted guys, at least in Tampa, go to main camp. So it was like a three weeks long. Like it was super long process, but it was super fun. Like I remember coming back to my team and saying like that was like some of the most fun I've had playing hockey, because you're in Tampa. It's nice. You feel like you're on vacation, but you're also like trying super hard at hockey. So it's a little bit weird, but I got used to it, and I'm like, I could be comfortable here. But yeah, it was super fun.
Okay, so you mentioned Vasi and seeing him on the ice. You get a chance to be on the ice with him?
Not yet. I'm hoping this year a little bit, but
when you get to watch him, so you're probably just you're at camp, but you're in different groups, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
because usually there's a lot. What do you see like when you watch a guy like that?
Yeah, I think when you watch someone on TV, you kind of just think that they're like, this is gonna sound super weird, but you think that they're just like a robot. Like you think that they just show up to games and they're just perfect at everything they do. But you watch and practice and you just see like him, how he's always doing the same thing. There's so many habits and layers onto, an NHL goalie's game that makes them successful. So you do bring that back to your own game, and you understand that, he didn't just get lucky. Like he worked on this his whole life. So you take that and you bring it back to, for me, it was junior hockey, and you work on those things. And it's a little weird at first because you're always so nitpicky about what you're doing, but you get used to it, and it's I think it's pretty cool to kind of see that firsthand.
Okay, so the nitpicky, the stuff that you talked about, too many things versus the important things, no matter what it is, even as you narrow that focus, how do you go from worrying about all those things to just playing a game? What's your advice to goalies that maybe sometimes get a little too consumed with all the too many swing thoughts? If I was on the golf course and just watch the ball hit the ball, what advice would you have for that? To take all the things you work on in practice and just go out and play.
Yeah, I think for me, my game is, I don't think when I play at all. Like I don't talk to anybody on the ice. I won't talk to the refs. I barely talk to my teammates when I'm playing. So it's just, I think you just got to be so dialed in on just playing that you're so dialed in you can't even think about things like going down in your RVH too early, or if you're on angle to the puck. Like I feel like when you're playing straight off adrenaline, it's when you play your best.
Do you have a way of getting to that point? Like, is there a preparation game day right before a game? Like when you say adrenaline, I think of elevated heart rate. I think of making sure you're up for it. Are there different ways you do to make sure you get that dialed?
I think it's a lot of your warm up. I'm someone that's super loose before games. Like I play sewer ball, and I'm talking a lot with my teammates. But it's for me, it's just getting my heart rate up. Like that's just the best way.
So you're super talkative and relaxed and hairy before the game.
Yeah.
But once it starts, you're Henrik Lundqvist quiet.
Once I start putting on my gear, I don't say a word. Like unless it's like to the trainer saying I need something. Like
so that's how you dial. Like, everybody's different. That's how you dial in your focus.
Yeah, it's like it's a little cliche, but it's almost like a light switch. Like that light, like I need to flip that switch before I play. But
if you flip it too early, like if you're not loose and playing sewer ball, I would imagine it would be draining.
Yeah.
Like, to be in that mode for 2 hours before the game, as opposed to right when you put your gear on, would be tiring.
Yeah, that's kind of why I do it. Like I probably played maybe 70 games this year, and I don't know if I'd be able to play 70 games where I'm just dialed in for 6 hours straight almost. Like I'm loose before games. I'm, and then at the hotel, if we're at the hotel, I'll be talkative with my roommate. Like it's not like I need to be dialed in, but once game time comes though, it's like a light switch. Like I won't say anything to anybody. And it's just, yeah, like you gotta focus on not so much the results of the game. I feel like some people are like, oh, I hope I don't let in 5 goals today. Like even if you get scored on first shot, you're just focusing on, the process. You're focused on the process to winning rather than the results of winning. And that's something I really picked up on this year.
So that's something where Wonger would in between periods be like, hey, like that doesn't, like, did he help you get to that point?
Yeah, like if let's say I let in 2 goals in the first period, I'm not thinking to myself, oh, I'm on pace to let in 6 goals tonight. Like
some guys do, yeah.
Yeah, like I used
That's
to.
That's what all roads lead to beer league. Guys like me think about.
That's exactly what I used to think about. So that's something that really helped me. Just focusing on the process, because that way, in a game, you're almost focused on just getting better almost too. Like you're just focused on doing the right things. And then when the puck's in your own end, you're just playing at that point. Yeah.
Love it. Playoffs, different beast. It's funny. You said, playoffs, even at the year you were drafted, playoffs didn't go as well as your regular season did. What did you learn about playoffs this year that allowed you to have the success? You guys win a WHL championship. I'm watching you on TSN in the WHL championship series. Like there's a bright light. There's a bigger spotlight. What did you learn about that process that allowed you to have more success in the playoffs this year? And obviously team and everything plays into it, but it sounded like you personally didn't love your playoffs 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
What'd you learn?
I think it's just, I was in a different atmosphere. Like a lot more people, the whole season in Lethbridge, it was, we need to make playoffs. We need to make playoffs. So when you make playoffs, you're thinking, you know what? We made playoffs. Like we're happy we're here. Let's see how far we can go. But at the end of the day, we're happy. And maybe the coaches aren't saying that. It's like
you let okay, we're done.
Yeah, like
almost.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. And then, when the coaches are still, they're saying like, let's win, but it's a different mindset in the locker room. But in this case, in Medicine Hat, the whole year, it's when we get to playoffs, we got to be ready, like stuff like that.
And you said Wonger had you dialed in on that too.
Yeah. So
you guys were focused on.
Yeah, the whole year we're getting ready for the hardest games of the year, which is as like the farther you go into playoffs. And obviously there's gonna be games where you're not as comfortable and you're not feeling your greatest, but it doesn't matter because it's game 3 of the playoffs and you're up 2-1 in the series and you don't want to have to come back to Swift Current in round 1, right? So it's all those little things that you work on all year that get you ready for, the bigger spotlights. Yeah.
Can you give me an example? Like, cause you've said this a couple times and I'm just trying to think of like, what as a goaltender, you said everything was about getting ready for playoffs. Can you give me an example of what that, like how you would approach something or how you would look at something in a regular season in a way that helps you come postseason?
I think playoffs it's still hockey, but there's some things that are a little bit different. Teams will try and get to you a lot more. It's a lot more personal. You play the same team at least 4 times.
You mean personal in terms of like chirping and
chirping, but more just like guys will try and be in your face a lot more, like screens and more whacks. And there's definitely chirps, but I don't really hear the chirps necessarily. But you notice when guys after a whistle slap your glove or something, like
it's like more physical intimidation.
But also in a sense, like when you have that mindset that these are the games that truly matter the most, it gets you more like hungry to win, and you feel more just like confident in that situation. It's not like you're doing anything different in practice. It's more just reiterating that like, okay, playoffs are here, but we've been ready for this the whole time, so there's nothing else you need to think. Like you're prepared for this kind of thing.
So like if somebody's whacking you in the regular season, there's that like, hey, like don't let this bother you because it can't bother me.
Yeah.
When the playoffs come and everybody's whacking you after a whistle.
Yeah.
That type of thing?
Yeah, a little bit. I think the biggest thing though is the reassurance of that you are ready for playoffs. I think a lot of people, when they get to like the bigger games, they don't feel ready and they kind of crack. I think what we worked on all year was everything we did this year was this for this purpose right here, was for playoffs.
So it's mindset.
Yeah, it's mindset pretty much. Like if you can dominate in regular season, you can dominate playoffs. I think we see a lot of time, especially in the NHL, you see Connor Hellebuck. He plays a game where he is always square to the puck, but when it comes playoff time, it's more of a messy game. Like it's a different. You look
chaos.
It's chaos, and you look at a guy like Thatcher Demko. Like he was good in playoffs, but he's always hurt. But he has really quick foot speed, right? And Hellebuck's different. He doesn't have
Different style of goaltending.
different style.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different style in playoffs in a sense that it's messier, and it's, you know, some games are more structured because teams are playing better defense, but like there's gonna be more stuff going on in front of the net. So yeah, like that's why you see some
it's
guys
not as
succeed.
clean a game. Even if you're on a good defensive team, it's really hard to maintain that clean game.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
that. I got that. Okay. Before playoffs, you went through something that nobody should have to go through, especially at your age.
Yeah.
I haven't even had a chance to say condolences.
Thank you.
I've seen you since then.
Mm-hmm.
Walk me through your dad, who we knew, Derek. You head into playoffs and you lose your dad.
Mm-hmm.
How do you move on from that?
I mean,
I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to. It happened at the game, and
last game of the
season, and you know, it was like, it felt like that plane ride home was, you know, 12 hours rather than 1. And I remember getting home and it was just quiet. Like no one was really saying anything. I couldn't really sleep at all.
You should be shocked.
I was in shock. I didn't understand really, even I didn't believe it still. But, you know, I had so much support from my teammates. Like, but like my team was so supportive. Like when I came back, it literally felt like it was my family. Like I had so many like people that just cared about me, like constantly reaching out. So I felt like comfortable being there. And yeah, like and then for my dad's funeral, they came too. So they actually did feel like family. And that's like, it made hockey so much easier. Take your mind off of it. Like there was like, it almost felt like it was the only thing that mattered. So it was kind of, in a sense, it was nice to keep my mind busy
because you had to focus.
Yeah, because I had to focus on hockey.
That switch you throw.
Yeah,
you know, from sewer ball and fun to game. Was it harder to throw that switch? Was the mind still wandering? Were there mechanisms that allowed you to get back to it?
Yeah, like my mind was still wandering, but I remember that first game back, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. I got a shutout, and it was super special after the game, kind of just seeing all the fans. They were all chanting Harry, and I just thought it was surreal. Like I didn't really, like, I thought that I'd never have, you know, however many people, 12,000, I have no idea how, not 12,000, like 7,000 people in there were just chanting my name, and it was insane. Then, you know, my captain says, go for a lap. So I go for a lap, and just the crowd got louder. So I was like, you know what, like, I really want to win this for the city. So
the emotions must have caught up to you at different points where I would imagine it would be still overwhelming. were you able to keep them at bay at all times during games, or were there times during that run to the WHL championship, MVP for you? Were there times where it came in, where it crept in?
Locker room, everyone was super negative on the bench. Like guys were arguing, whatever. And we sat down in the locker room. It was silent for like 30 seconds. And then, the older guys on the team were like, guys, we're winning this game. Like we're finding a way. And that's exactly what we did. Like we went out there. It was like a brand new game, and we just felt like we were scoring like every shift. And they scored right away. Like they scored like the first 2 minutes of the game. And I was like, of the period. And I'm sitting in my net. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. Like I was in shock when they scored on me right away. But then we literally came back and tied the game, then won it 2 minutes into overtime. And, it was insane. Like it was crazy. And now we're up 3-0 in the series. And I'm sure Lethbridge didn't feel too great after that game. So
what did the Mem Cup? What was that like? I mean, again, watching on TSN, like, which is kind of like, maybe that's no big deal to you. But like to watch it, like for me even, and I've covered the NHL for 25 years, but it's different when it's somebody and I know what you've gone through emotionally, having been at the service, to being on TV.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden the Memorial Cup's an even brighter spotlight. Sportsnet's there, and it's every game is on TV, and it's in a national championship. What was that like for you? Again, how did you manage both the moment and the highlight and the spotlight of the event itself, but also the emotions of what you'd been through to that point? Because there's a gap there. You have a little break.
Yeah. So, I mean, after we won the league, we had our fun. We relaxed for a few days, and then it was right back to, we got to get the water hot again. We got to get ready for, once again, the biggest games of our lives. And
having a leader like Willie probably helps with that too, right?
We wanted so badly to win it for him, because we knew that he's never won one before. And, in all our leadership meetings, it was like, we got to do it for Willie. We have to. So it's really sucks that we came, just shy of it. But I remember sitting on the plane going to Rimouski, and I was like, this is going to be insane. Like, this is the biggest covered junior hockey thing ever.
And it's in a small town that year, so it's like there's probably it's the event in town.
Like there was nothing going on in Rimouski except for
the
this.
Cup, yeah.
And I was sitting there on the plane. I was like, I knew how much media coverage was going to be around me,
right?
And also having Gav on our team. So I was like, I don't know, like, really what to expect. So I was really nervous for that. But then when we actually got there, I was like, this is just hockey again. I'm with the same group of guys I just won a championship with. It's my family. My mom's going to be there. Like, it just felt like a hockey tournament in Bantam or Pee Wee when you're, it's like Sunday championship. Like it's crazy that it's like that again. But
it must make it easier to just go out and play.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, we're just going to go out there, take it game by game, whatever happens, happens. But I'm just going to, stick to the things that make me good. And that's why building all these good habits it gets you ready for when you're uncomfortable. So I learned that you need to be so close with your teammates. Because at the end of the day, when things aren't going well, that's who you fall back on. Yeah.
Being uncomfortable. I mean, you went through the ultimate test of comfort, but it sounds like that was something you worked on throughout the year. Obviously, not knowing what's coming, but on the ice too. Because I just want to touch on that a little bit, because it sounded like you talked about being uncomfortable, whatever position you in. Is that something you and Matt purposely worked on?
I think not so much like on the ice in terms of like when the play is like scrambly,
right?
But maybe when the game's not going well and you're stuck on the ice, you can't go hide as a goalie.
Right.
So when you're on
the ice, you don't
get
to hit a timeout.
Exactly. So you got to go just out there, and when you're uncomfortable, it's all about facing the next shot. That kind of became a theme for us. And even like Joe Fraser, my coach, would say it when I'm going in the second period, it's like 2-1 for the other team, is like, just focus on the next shot. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's the easiest thing to say, but it can be tough to do.
It's tough to do, and it's super cliche, but it's all you can do. You can't go back in time and try and, save a deflection that hit off 4 bodies. Like, you can't save that. You don't know what's going to happen. It's just, you got to be comfortable in the most uncomfortable positions. Yeah.
Not to put you in another uncomfortable position, but with your dad, tell us a little bit about him and his role in your career, because I know he was like your biggest fan. Because we used to talk about you when you were only came up to my waist as opposed to being 3-4 inches taller than me, and about playing hockey. How much, not the goofiness. Your dad was so cool. I always thought your dad was the coolest guy, like a little too cool, like almost like I felt like not worthy because he was just sort of, but he was super casual about everything, right? Do you get a little bit of that ability to sort of bounce back and not get caught up in negative stuff? Does that come from him a little bit?
I think when I was younger,
Not easy as a goalie parent.
ready for kind of whatever the future holds, I guess. As cliche as that sounds, but it's true.
No, okay, that might be a cliche, but when you say prepared us for life, like that's not a cliche. That's not, but as a parent, this won't resonate with you because you're too young. But as a parent, I think that's all you ever hope to do for your kids. So feeling like he's done that might be that's the ultimate compliment, Harrison. So you say he's always with you. Where do you take him next? What does summer look like as you head into your first year of professional hockey? Where do you know where you go after camp? Do you have an idea where you're going to end up, or do you just go to camp and what will be will be?
I think the whole goal is to just go to camp and whatever happens. You just gotta do what you're good at, in a sense. Like, you can't try and be someone you're not.
So right back to not chasing change for the sake of change.
As I got older, I realized that I'm naturally good at these things, so I might as well just stick to what I'm doing.
So it's okay to watch Vasilevsky, to admire what he does, to maybe try a few things, but to understand you don't need to be Andrei Vasilevsky.
Yeah, there's some things that are things that you do at the NHL level that are you need to do.
Yeah.
That comes from experience and learning. It's not something you force upon yourself. Yeah, if that makes sense.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
A lot of guys start now pro. It used to be like AHL or bust, but the reality is ECHL right now is where a lot of like top prospects start because you get a chance to play. Is that something that, again, you haven't mapped out, you don't know where you're going to be, but like, is it all about playing at this point, getting adapted to the pro game and getting those opportunities?
I think so. I think sometimes you got to look at maybe the pipeline you're in. Tampa Bay doesn't have a lot of goalies. So for me, I do want to play in the AHL. I think I'm good enough to. at the end of the day, you just fall back on what makes you good. Yeah.
I got to say, a lot of 20-year-olds on this show.
Mhm.
Usually guys are a little older, a little more experienced.
Yeah.
And the interviews are usually a little shorter when
Yeah.
it's younger guys like yourself.
Yeah.
But we're over an hour, buddy. This
Yeah.
has been really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great job. Incredible insights.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so until next time, and the next time we'll be talking to you after you've gone through the pro experience.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Pretty mature young man.
Definitely, and some great answers there. And like when I said coming in, it caught me off guard. It's just I'd seen some of the post game stuff. I'd seen and the guys go into their hockey speak and they're on TV and they're on camera, but you get them talking goaltending and. He was relaxed. He was insightful. He was open. There's some great stuff in there for young goalies, for goalie families that are feeling that pressure if this is your bantam year. As he said, like at the end of the day, yeah, it's real and the disappointment was real, but it doesn't have to mean anything.
I love it the way goalies open up on this platform.
I think they feel safe talking to Woody. They know it's goalies talking to goalies, and Woody always, not everybody can hear the preamble to these conversations like I do when I'm editing them, but Woody always just sets them up in such a professional and yet comfortable way so that these guys know they're safe to speak and we're not going to throw them under the bus.
I recently got a very kind note from someone who sent one of our interviews to an executive, and I didn't ask for permission to share this, so I'm not going to share names, but it was a really nice reinforcement to me about getting guys to open up. And they sent it to an executive who was having trouble doing interviews and getting people to open up in interviews. And I think we've done a nice job of creating a pretty comfortable, safe environment for the goalies where they feel like they can share and be open and not worry about who's listening.
Do you have a strategy in the conversations? Because I have a couple of things that I try to hit on during a podcast interview or something that's a little bit more long form. Do you have a foundation?
I have a list of topics, and as you guys have heard, we're 313 in on this. Quite often I start with the
origin story.
The origin story for you, because at the end of the day, most of these conversations come down to the shared passions that bind us as goaltenders from peewee right to pro, whether it's gear, technique, like what is it that makes you love this position? So quite often we get into that as one of my early ones. But the truth is, Darren, despite all the work with Sense Arena, despite all the pro reads, my interviews are usually much like my goaltending. There isn't a deep thought or plan involved.
I have a couple of things. I try to make the person laugh at some point. I try to make sure that I learn something, or I hope to learn something along the way. So following up on things, and I always have to remind myself, and this is a tough one, that I don't have to get to everything on my list. If the conversation goes in a certain direction, let it go. And if the person's passionate about taking it there, then your interview is going to be so much better than if you try to rein it back into what you want to talk about.
Where was that advice like 150 episodes ago, Darren? The amount of times that I had a list in front of me and now I make a note like, oh, he talked about this. Make sure we go back to that. Pull on that thread, as Hutch likes to say. And as I often now say in the interviews, I stole that one from Hutch. There's a thread there I want to pull on. But in the early going, I very much had my list, and then I would listen back after and I'd be like, man, why didn't I pursue that one more? Because that sounded like it was going to be really good, but I was too eager to sort of check off the boxes. That's great advice, Darren. And it only took me, we're 313 in. I would say it probably only took me 250 episodes to figure it out. So thanks for sharing now.
And then the other thing we do is, whether it's Woody warning me, having done the interview, or I pick something up while we're editing it, is every now and then you hear something from a guy that we know what he meant, but we could imagine that it might be interpreted differently. And so we just pull it out. Like, there was a guy not that long ago that mentioned why he didn't go see his goalie coach from when he was younger. And just the way he said it, I could just see people not getting what he was really trying to hit at. So we don't need that. It's not needed. Let's just keep these guys in a completely positive space. I don't I don't think we've ever had a case where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he would say something controversial like that. Cut it. It's more just what we think people might interpret it to, because we're maybe overly sensitive to what people say on social media these days. So
Yeah, and I guess that maybe that's part of it. We've created that safe space where goalies are comfortable that rather than having something they say immediately pique our eyebrows and go, that's going to be gold on social media, let's run with it. If we're worried about it may be interpreted the wrong way or put them in a bad spot, we'll actually go the other way and say, hey, I think I know what you meant here, but I'm not sure other people may interpret it this way. What do you think? Should we just pull this part? And sometimes they say no, and sometimes they say yes. But that's how we approach it. We're not looking to be sensational, make headlines. Maybe we'd have more listeners if that was what it was all about. Well, we're just content having great conversations about the position that we all love, and I think they feel that.
I want to thank you guys for being patient. We were supposed to record this a few hours ago, but we had a little bit of a power outage in my area of Shelton, PEI, and everything's back on and running. So thank you for just standing by, holding firm before we did this.
I see the wetsuit in the background, Darren. I see the old Graf skates. So what I'm wondering is if you were out in the wetsuit with skates on each hand, cutting power lines to get a day away from us.
You know what I did yesterday? We went out in a boat, a tour boat through Charlottetown Harbor and then into the Northumberland Strait, and we saw seals. That was a cool experience. And then we pulled up a lobster trap. They have a educational license, so they can fish all year round. They don't harvest the lobster. They trap them and then they let them go. I saw the biggest lobster I've ever laid eyes on yesterday. Was that?
How did you weigh it? How like?
No, the guy, he was just holding it. And then he said, does anybody want to
give us the fish story? Show us the hands.
The thing was crazy. And then he said, does anybody, he put bands on them. This one, he couldn't put bands on because it was too big, but he let everybody hold the lobster, the 3 or 4 that he put bands on. Not a chance I'm putting that thing on me. No way. And my kids did. Everybody else did. No way. I fully admit that I'm soft there.
Everybody else is holding it. Darren's got a large pot in the background. He's lighting a Bunsen burner stove. He's got a little hot butter going. Although they say when they get too big, because everybody likes, I got a 2-pound lobster. When they get too big, they get a little less tasty.
Is that right? We were debating that. This thing was 40 years old.
Yeah. You get
sad.
You get a little
40 years old. Gotta let it go.
You get a little sinewy when you get old, right? A little tough to eat.
Imagine cutting us open, throwing us in a pot. Oh, the sarcasm that would drip off us.
Wouldn't be the only thing dripping off us. What do they say that about a nice cut of beef? Oh, it's well marbled. I'd be well marbled.
Marbled. That sums us up well. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week, everybody, on the wonderful journey of goaltending on InGoal Radio, the podcast.